Hello and welcome to the Tight Curls Project podcast. I'm Shadia, and today I'm joined by a special guest. Tiana Elame is someone who loves the outdoors. Seriously, she's an environmental leader and strategist. She's a founder of Environmental Answers, which you'll hear more about. And she's also a lecturer at NC State with environmental project management. In addition to that, she's also someone who has lovely, luscious sister locks. And I wanted to talk to her about her hair journey and all the stories she has about growing up till now. So I'm excited to have you, Tiana.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be on this podcast. It's really, really a unique opportunity for me to talk about my hair. Like Shadia says, a lot of times I'm talking about the environment, climate change, different things of that category. But today I get to sit down and talk about something that is also important to me, which is my hair.
Lovely, lovely. Well, to get us started, Tiana, what is something you're loving now? Something you can't get enough of right now?
You mean like outside of travel? I really, really am
Ooh.
enjoying traveling. I'm actually getting ready to go on a trip with my 14-month-old to Disney. So we're really excited about that.
Yay.
He'll be doing his first flight. So for me, something that I'm
Oh,
loving now and always is being able to travel.
I love it. I love travel too. So safe flight and travel. I hope you guys get lots of great time just with him and his experience on his first flight.
I know.
Oh. Well, let's just talk a little bit about you growing up. I met you as an adult, so and you've become a wonderful friend. But hearing some of your stories about childhood, I was like, there's stuff to talk about here. Some of the things I really resonated with. So, what did school age little Tiana think about hair? What were some of your earliest memories with hair?
It's a great question. I think one of my first and core memories of my hair was actually getting my hair silk pressed by a lady named Miss Woodard. And I used to go after school. Like my parents had me in school in DC. I grew up in the Silver Spring, DC area. So I lived in Maryland, but did a commute to DC every day to go to
Oh,
school.
okay.
And for my hair, Miss Woodard helped me slick. Like she really knew how to use that blue magic to slay it
Oh,
down. So I didn't really have to have like a relaxer at that point in my life. I had a relaxer previously, like when I was younger. But I do remember like going and sitting down and Miss Woodard shared she would wash my hair at the sink and then get me straight.
was that something you look forward to, or you were like, "Oh, I don't want to go,"
Hair
or
is something. So, like, did I look forward to it? I look forward to like what it looked like post, like, because I always
yes.
felt like I looked like a little doll. I felt like the experience was sometimes like not always the best. I have a very thick hair, as you can maybe tell, and I've always had
Yes.
very thick hair. And so, in having thick hair, a lot of times people sit down and they're like, "Oh man, this is gonna be something to work through." So, from a young age, I always knew that like my texture was different, especially like growing up. Like my mom's hair texture is different. My grandmother's hair texture is different. Being able to see all the different textures and then having my hair being very tightly curled and also like super thick. They were like, we don't know what we're going to do. So again, shout outs for those who were able to help me get slicked down because I really enjoyed being able to have that like experience growing up.
Oh, yeah. Yes, when you probably heard like, "Oh, she's got a lot of hair," or maybe they start working on your hair and then it comes out. That's been my experience.
So I to think about another stylist experience was just like not as great. So like I said, I grew up in the DMV area and I had Miss Woodard that would straighten my hair. But during the summer times, I would always come down to North Carolina, Raleigh, where I live now, and my grandmother would look for people to also do my hair.
Okay.
And I have a hair texture, at least how it presents when it's in braids or it looks a different way. As in sometimes people
Oh,
think that my
interesting.
texture is one way and then they get it and then they dry it and they're like, hold up, wait, your hair is, you surprised me. So I have this core memory of like going into the salon and I was like, oh yeah, we should be able to get her hair done. But she did not know my hair was quote unquote virgin, like as in like
Mm.
natural, because I guess
Hmm.
when it was in the cornrow style that I had, it didn't present that way to her. It looked like maybe I had a relaxer or my hair had been because it was blown out,
Yes.
and it had like the oils, my natural oils were in it. So it looked a little bit softer to maybe the texture presenting perspective. So there was a lot of energy around it. And I remember having to communicate to the
Mm.
lady, like, you can't do stuff with my hair when it's dry. So this is me being at a salon. I maybe was
Wow.
like 10, having to
You're a
communicate
kid.
to her that like if you do it this way, you're gonna break it. Like I literally like,
Mm.
my hair needs moisture in it. So when you start to like dry my hair, like just like put me under the dryer. Imagine like someone washing your hair, it's in your
Mhm.
virgin state, and put you under the
Yeah.
dryer and then wants to like comb it out. Like I'm like, oh my God.
No.
And this
Oh,
was like,
wow.
you know, I would say for the most part, I could tell like she probably does a lot of chemical treatments on people's hair, which
Yeah.
I've had a perm at that point in my life. So I was definitely familiar with that. And I could tell that my grandmother was doing her best. My dad's
Mhm.
mom, she recently passed. She was I think it's crazy now. My grandma was like 60 plus years in between us. There's a generation that could have happened before.
Mm.
She's more like a great grandma. So she was more so
Yeah.
just trying to like do what she could know, like take you to a salon. They
Yeah.
should be able to fix your hair. And at that time I didn't have a relaxer in my hair. So I know that it was something that she was more so just trying to make sure she was taking care of me that summer, which I really
Yeah.
appreciated. But I also realized the person that she took me to was like only used to working with people who had relaxers in their hair and wasn't expecting my hair to be natural, especially because, like,
Yes.
in her mind, like, you have braids in your hair, you're of age, your mom obviously has a relaxer in your head. No, not at that point, not at
Mhm.
that season.
That's really interesting too. Two things. One, that you spoke up, because I
Mm.
think sometimes even as adults, when we're getting our hair done, it feels like the wrong way. There can be a lot of, um, I guess, power that comes when you're in the seat where you feel like
It
they should be
hurt.
the expert. They
Okay,
should
so
know. Okay.
I'm a tender-headed person, right? I've always been like that's what I really appreciate about Sisterlocks for me. We'll get to that later. Like I don't have to have anyone touch my hair for an extended period of time, myself included. I can wash it. I can do that, no problem. But yeah, no, it was hurting. And I was like,
Yeah.
you obviously are struggling. She was like, oh my goodness. And she said thank you. It wasn't like it was poorly
Oh, that's
received.
good.
You
Okay.
know what I mean?
Okay.
She did have a little bit of a tone hitting me with
Mhm.
that virgin texture hair, whatever that meant. Again, that was a little bit
Mhm.
cryptic for me to process at that time. I was like, what does she
You're
mean?
like, what
And
is it?
like, huh?
Yes.
But like, yeah, it allowed her to do what she wanted to do. Cause like once you added moisture back to my hair, it's easier to blow dry my hair if it's wet
Yeah.
versus you putting me
Exactly.
under the dryer and then trying to blow dry my hair straight. Like, anyway,
That doesn't make.
we've come a
Yes.
long
Yeah.
way,
We
in
have.
hair since then.
Hmm.
I feel like, I don't know. I guess that may have been like the early 2000s,
Hmm.
where like, natural hair was still like, if you weren't just wearing a fro, or like it was
Yes.
still developing its journey to where we are now.
Definitely. I think it was not the norm. The
Hmm.
default stint and still in that part was a relaxer. So she just assumed, that you had that. And I think it's
Yeah, she
also really
assumed it,
interesting.
and then it,
Yeah.
it definitely shocked her.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people at that time were used to doing relaxers, and some people got press and curls,
Yeah.
but she sounds like she wasn't even and used to that.
She
So I
wasn't
think,
doing it. I think it was just more so she assumed from the jump that my hair had a relaxer in it, and then
like,
she was just
surprise.
functioning. Yeah, she was functioning under that. Is because there were plenty of older women in that shop getting a press and
Right.
curl, right? But
That's
like,
surprising. Yes.
yeah, but like also you would know this better than me, but like, people's hair, I know something that came up when I was younger is like also training your hair to be straight. Like my hair
Mm-hmm.
was not in a quote unquote trained state for it to even
Yes.
like be remotely like I was,
Yeah.
yeah.
It
So
was it was natural. Yes.
it was
It was
natural and there was
it
nothing,
had
there was
all its
nothing.
spring.
Yes, exactly. It had all its spring. And I
Yeah.
know that was like the year, I guess, later was when my mom started doing two-strand twist on my hair. And this
Oh,
is so
okay.
funny. Like I was in fifth grade and I remember like my mom was doing my hair two-strand twist, whether it was for economic reasons or just because she was spending more time. I remember that time like being like, my mom's doing my hair at home, especially because
Mm.
it was like something that I like have as a fond memory of like, okay, every like week, I feel like we were washing my hair and then just twisting it. We did it that way like that whole year. And I do
Wow.
remember I had really severe breakage when I was in fourth grade. And I remember like that's because I was getting relaxers. Like my mom, I think
Mm.
after that summer, my grandmother had said something, and then my mom went and like got me a relaxer to try to make things easier for everyone.
Yeah.
And then like my hair started to deal with breakage, so then she started doing the two-strand twist as a solution. And I remember like the first time I was like ever like bullied or about my hair
Mm.
was
Oh.
when I had these two-strand braids, and this is when people were getting like the short like box braids that were burnt at the end, right? Like that was
Yeah.
the trend
Oh,
in the
okay.
style. And so like a lot of people were getting their hair done in that way. And I had two-strand twists. Like, and that was like not necessarily the norm or the standard at that time. I remember someone saying, like, get out of my way with your homemade braids. I will never forget
Oh,
homemade braids. I was like, what? Like, why are you
oh,
talking about my hair?
wow.
Like, what do you mean homemade braids? What does that
Homemade.
even mean? But I'm like, oh,
Mm.
you're just mad because I am using my real hair. So there's
Oh.
that.
Well, you had your,
But
did you clap back or was that an internal? Was
oh
there
no,
an
I said that.
exchange?
Me and person that will not be named definitely had a little bit of a roughy moment right there. Yeah, I
I'm glad you
definitely
stood
said
up for yourself. That's so interesting. Homemade braids. I guess this
yeah.
is a time when getting that salon, yeah, that salon style, that was cool. I think that's interesting because you're observant at that time, even in what, fifth grade? Kids are
Oh
paying
yeah.
attention to what they have and how you wear your hair.
I would say that like I everyone had their own style and like what was influencing you. I think really quickly when we go into like middle school, I remember like Sierra was popular during that time, and I remember like people were starting to explore with weaves or different things like that.
Mm,
Or
by
like
middle
you could
school. Oh,
still,
wow.
yeah. I still remember like being able to have those drawstring like tie. Like I would get my hair and I would like do some gel and then like put in a bun and then get my little drawstring, little curly hair in the back. Because I just know I was cool and I knew I was cute. But
Yes.
look, those are like those memories I have. So many core memories with hair.
So it sounds like you tried several different styles as a kid. And then when did you start doing your own hair? Was that around middle school?
I had like two stints, like opportunities that like my mom was just like, yeah, you can go ahead. I think around 12 was when I first started doing and experimenting with my own hair. And then like I think I went through the season of wanting to do cheerleading. And in
Mm,
cheer, they're very particular about, at least at that time, how your hair looked. So I had to get these like almost like micro type braids. And so then I started to
okay.
get my hair done in braided patterns because I was doing cheer. But yeah, I would say that's when I stopped. So like from like 12, 13, I had a duration of time that I was trying to do my own hair that looked like me like washing it and doing my best to blow dry it. And then I would make my little like either puff balls or I would do like a puff in the back. And, you know, if it met my mom's standard, I could go out, which most of the time she didn't give me too hard of a time, you know,
Oh,
because like
wow.
she allowed me to just do what I needed to do. And then I think again after I was done with cheer, so I did cheer ninth, 10th, and part of my junior time, and then I stopped doing that, and that's when I took the braids out. And I started to do like individuals with my natural hair. I did twists with my natural hair. I did just free, like as in like washing my hair and letting it just be however it is. I would do braid outs, twist outs, all the jazz. So
That's pretty impressive. I mean, it seems you're a little ahead of the curve in terms of natural hairstyles and doing it yourself. Did you have other friends or classmates who are doing this?
no, not as much at that time. You know, like at that time I was still like I didn't how can I put it? My life wasn't designed for me to be on YouTube like as in recording the YouTube, but like very much when early YouTubers were doing their hair in that way, I was with them. Like I was a part of the
You're right.
journey of like I could
Okay.
have been a part of it because I was doing it because you know, I know that I had the chance to put relaxer in people's hair. So I used to like do my mom's touch up or my grandmother's touch up when I was like in
Wow.
high school and stuff. So like I didn't desire to do that with my hair at that
Mm,
time. I think a lot of it had to do with my awareness of like the smell. I didn't really like it.
mm,
Also, like I was just fine with just doing whatever I wanted to do with my hair. I didn't like the maintenance part of it, as in like
yeah,
having to have someone else do my hair. Because again, as a tender-headed person, I can control the tension. Again, this
that's
is probably
true.
all like avoiding pain. Let's go back to like let's
Hey,
the deep rootness of it might have been just not wanting someone else to like tug on my hair. And I remember like when I would get braids, like, you know, sometimes I've had like multiple people doing my hair at the same time. And I don't want to skip past. I did have those braids that I talked about at some point in my life. The braids with the burnt ends. I did have my own
Oh,
season
you
of
did
that.
get them.
So, oh yeah,
Okay.
I had those. My mom made sure I had that. That was a little bit earlier than that time. I
Hmm.
was dealing with it more so. I remember in second grade, I have like a thought about me. I have this like memory of me in an orange or a yellow sweatshirt with my little braid on the side. I feel like, not that I was going after Shanae looks on Martin, but like I had my little side little situation going on.
Side
So yes,
ponytail.
my little side pony, and I just knew I was cute. So
Well, that's pretty cool that you're willing to try different things and do it yourself. And I
mhm.
mean, avoiding pain, that seems very reasonable. Sometimes we do these hairstyles and we know it's going to be painful on the journey
yeah,
and it's just the price we pay.
yeah. I mean, they
I don't
say beauty
know.
is pain, but I was like, but could I try it another way?
Can
Like,
we
could I try
maybe
it
not.
myself?
Yeah, does it
Yeah.
have to be? Well, you
hmm
shared some pictures. Do you have any pictures you want to highlight from this time?
Okay, let's see. The very first picture I see is of me and my brother and my cousin, who's my other brother. And that's when my mom was just washing and blow drying my hair. My hair is in a little puff above that little like crown, but that's little
Oh,
Tiana.
your
So
little
I have like
birthday
it's,
comb hat.
it's Derek's first birthday. Derek, look at you, your first birthday, and I guess I was around 4 at that time. And
So
I remember
cute.
my mom would just blow dry my hair, I believe, and like put it up. At least that's how I remember that time in my
Mhm.
life. I do know that like I got a relaxer very young though,
Mm.
so hypothetically I can't see in this picture that well. There could be a relaxer in my hair. I
It
think
doesn't
that,
look
the older we get or like the more knowledgeable we are about hair, I think moms are more hesitant to put relaxers in their
yeah.
daughter's hair. But I feel like I was having a little relaxer in my hair around like 3, like the very first time, or some type of
Yeah.
texturizer to
Something.
change it a little bit just to make it more manageable, which is the words that were used around my hair a lot.
Oh, we gotta get back to that word manageable. Okay.
Yeah, so this is '07. So this is me in high school. I definitely had a relaxer. I think before this and this was 10th grade. I remember I had like kind of, what is that? The haircut that was short, tapered in the back. I knew I was Halle Berry at some point haircut,
Okay.
but I was growing that out, and so this is where this
You
hair
got
was
like a
at. And
swoop
I had a
bang.
swoop bang. I'm doing the duck face of my time, and I definitely did the duck face forever. But anyway, yes, I got my hair done. I
Short
didn't do
little
this.
cut. Your
Yeah,
ends are bumped under. You got a little
yeah,
height on
that
the
was
crown.
fresh out
Okay.
of the salon hairstyle,
Yes. Okay, so
straightened.
you're going to salon.
This
You've been
was
all over.
definitely
You did
salon.
home, you did salon.
Mhm.
Yes. And this is around the same
This is
time
a
as well?
in between situation. I definitely still had something going on with my hair, like a relaxer of nature. But I think that I was pinning my hair up. I remember really trying to make it last. Again, avoiding that painless thing. Trying my best to make sure that I was doing it. I remember like the flat irons, or
Yes.
CHI or chai, I don't know,
Mhm.
whichever. I just remember like having that flat iron, it being like something that was really helpful for me.
Those are a big deal, flat irons,
Yeah.
people are spending $100 for them, going all out. And
Oh,
then
yeah. This photo is actually one that's a little bit more of my time when I was in California, and so this is the last time my hair was, like, loose natural. I think it's, like, about a year before I, got my locks. So this
mm,
is, like, I had taken some time. I'm someone who really likes to color their hair. I used to, like, color my hair a lot, had those back and forth, but
mm.
this picture, I had intentionally taken time to grow out the color, take out the color, because I knew that when I got my locks, I did not want to necessarily color my hair within the first 5 years, just to see, one, allow my hair to just grow naturally, see what my natural hair color is, and stuff like that.
That's beautiful. This is a great picture because you're by the Golden Gate Bridge. You've got some heart-shaped glasses on,
I
doing that
know.
duck
I like to
face.
call this like my little shots of just enjoying myself. The heart. I love a good pair of heart shaped glasses. I actually have a lot of
Oh,
those. So, if you ever like, something to get Tiana, some heart shaped glasses could be on the list.
noted. And your hair, this seems like you just naturally
That is a
dried
wash
it,
and go.
wash
So
and
I
go.
definitely washed my hair that morning. I didn't really do very much to it. I let it just air dry. I really liked wash and goes, especially because I didn't pull in my hair. and I
Yeah.
wasn't
And you
trying
do have
to
tight
change.
curls and
Yeah,
a
I do
lot
have
of
tight.
hair.
Yeah,
Yes.
I do have a lot of hair and it's tight.
Perfect for this podcast.
Yep.
So then I'll just go back to here to this was one where you did have blonde hair,
Oh
I think
yeah.
in your youth. And this
So
was
my hair is not in this picture. It looks like I have my hair shaved on the sides. I don't. It's just pressed back like I did like bobby pins. I was very in the FroHawk. That was like very much
yeah,
a part of my
FroHawk.
core identity. Yeah, that's a FroHawk. That was very much it. So I pinned my hair back and it was great because again, low pulling on hair. I washed my hair and I slicked back the edges with like probably some jam, and
Mhm.
like put the pins in and I just went. And I was allowed to just let my hair be free. I feel like this was a very expressive. Honey
Mm.
blonde is the color in this, if you're looking for the
Yeah,
color in
and
this one.
your curls are doing their
Oh
own
yeah, and I
thing.
also box color. So I didn't this wasn't I did the
Okay.
color myself. So I box colored.
Wow.
I just did the box. And this is like definitely like late high school, right after type situation. I knew it was right before I did AmeriCorps. I know we talked a little bit about environmental being a big part. I did not
Mhm.
go directly to college after high school. I did an AmeriCorps program and I did the Maryland Conservation Corps. So this is
Wow.
what my hair looked like
When
then.
during the program.
Yeah, I like
Oh.
graduated from high
Mhm.
school and then did the program and I had my hair like this and it was great, especially for like doing outdoor work, nature work all the time, taking a lot of showers. Wash your hair, put it in a frohawk, easy peasy.
I love it. So, I mean, one of the themes that I'm hearing as you talk about these different hairstyles is really avoiding pain and just
Mhm.
letting your hair be. So, is that something that
Avoiding
was really
pain.
important to you?
Yeah, avoiding other people touching my hair. Because again, I think
Mm,
something I talked to you about earlier is like other people's comments or judgment on my hair. I don't really have time for that. Like, that's not necessarily the space that I want around me and anything to do with my person. So I was very
yeah.
much like protective, I think, maybe
Mhm.
unconsciously, but like being able to just love what I have and keep it moving because I'm not trying to have what other people have.
That's really interesting that you came to that realization at such an early age in
Mhm.
terms of wanting to love your hair and doing things that allowed you to avoid some of the messaging that was not helpful on
Yeah,
your
I would say
journey
shout
to
outs
embrace
to
your
my
own hair.
mom for one very early making sure to love my brown, as in like I am a
Mm,
black person and making sure from the beginning the whole goal is to enjoy who you are. And so that also extended to my hair.
yeah, and then in terms of, the manageability,
Hmm.
do you think that that was something that was tied to tighter curls and high density being more work or people not knowing how to handle it or just seeing something that they maybe weren't familiar with? Or what do you think that was
I
about?
think
And
that a lot of the training in salon schools or like beautician schools is centered around hair that is deemed manageable, which looks less tightly curled or straightened. Like, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
I really like all that. It was a weird transition for me when they started to have that chart, that like grades your hair like 4C and stuff because I had
yes.
already had my hair and been working with my hair, but never had like the language to
Mhm,
articulate, like what hair, have and understanding grade and texturism and different things. I think for me, the energy around my hair needing to be manageable left me with feeling a little bit like something was wrong. But like I
mm,
didn't feel like something was wrong. I knew that
mhm.
people did not know how to do my hair. And there's a lot of
Okay.
reasons why people don't know things, right? Like
Yeah.
I think about it from when I think about the environment, a lot of times like I wasn't necessarily upset or disappointed in the people not knowing. I just knew that they didn't know. And
Mhm.
so,
That's great.
it was my responsibility since it is mine to get to know it and what works best for me. And that was just my approach and how I looked at it because it allowed me to have more, I guess, power and not feel like a victim of something because I didn't have to be. It's my
Mhm.
hair. You know what I mean? Let me
Yeah.
enjoy it. Let me figure it out as a part of like people figuring out other things like body and other. So,
I love that. I think also, I think that can be a journey that a lot of people are still on,
mhm.
and the messaging can be really strong and it can be discouraging. And then you mirror that with what you're seeing online. And I think a lot of times the early people on YouTube and other places might have a totally different texture. There's a lot of people who have really shiny hair. So you associate that with the goal, and then you try something and it doesn't work. And then maybe your experience not knowing how to do it can make it feel unwieldy or too much, you know?
Mhm.
And I think what you did is you recognized, hey, they have this issue. That's not my problem. And you didn't internalize it, but yet you decided, let me learn how to do this instead
Yeah.
of wringing my hands trying to fit into something that wasn't really, for you necessarily in terms of other people's
Yeah, I don't wanna
expectations.
ever, like, leave this or not say, like, I had hard days of not
Mm,
understanding, but I think I had my hard days much younger. Growing
okay.
up with first cousins who hair texture is very different than mine, like, I was very young, being able to see, like, "Oh, man, their hair texture is, quote, unquote, much easier," like,
Hmm.
just looking at and understanding my hair wasn't different and having to do their hair, like having to,
Okay.
help with or braid their hair and understanding, it made me aware of those different textures and this
Yeah.
is mine and I need to learn it. Just like they're
That's
gonna have to have,
amazing.
so like I feel like because I would say I remember like having what I would call like hair envy, especially when it
Mm,
wasn't as tedious to maybe do braids or, being able to just wash their hair and make it slick and then not have to do too much to it, having to deal with that. But it also helped me to realize like I just have something different and it's okay.
that's amazing. I mean, it really is. That's powerful to understand. Different doesn't mean you have to put a value to it,
Right.
and just might
Right.
have different needs
Right.
and different care and different opportunities as well.
Hmm.
Some of the styles that you can do with your hair,
Is
really
not the
thick
same.
hair is not
Exactly.
same styles that some people who have very fine hair can do necessarily. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that that's really powerful that you were able to understand that. I think also, when I was growing up, a lot of people had relaxers, so you
Mhm.
didn't really see those differences till people
Oh,
started going natural, and then they went natural. And I think, in the past 15 years, some people were surprised because then they did, and it's not what they thought it would be, or so even just having that realization that there is a lot of variety. If your hair's been straightened all the time, you might not even know what your curls look like.
yeah. Yeah, no, I think that that's a strong message and something to like highlight because as when I think about my mom's hair texture versus mine, I always was like, man, my mom's hair is so like she has a lot of hair too. I get my thickness from her, but I feel like it's easier. But when she was dealing with her hair, she was like, Tiana, this is a lot. Like, you know what I mean? And so, like, you can be envious, for lack of better
Mhm.
words, of someone's hair and they are sitting there having their own struggles that you don't know. So that's why it's like, know yours and love yours.
That's the message. Know yours and love it.
Hmm.
Yes. Wonderful. So let's talk a little bit as you got older. Do you want to talk a little bit about, when you started considering sister locks?
We
And
talk
I'll
about
bring
I
up.
would say we talk about protective styling and different
Okay.
types of protective styling, and that's how I,
Yeah.
I view it. I see like sister locks, any type of locks is a way to preserve, your hair in a certain way. I actually did something first, which were yarn braids for me to like
Oh.
actually see what it would be like to have locks. So I remember when I was like, oh, like this would be something cool to try. Yarn was way cheaper than braiding hair, especially human braiding hair. And yarn also, unlike some of the braiding hair that I had experienced, didn't necessarily get too tight like caught up
Mm.
in my hair. So I was
Yeah.
able to
Yeah.
braid it and I could unbraid it and it wasn't like it was protective. I then shifted to what's like crochet braids. So like the braids at the cornrows. I have one of my friends cornrow. I never learned that. I'm still working on that. I promise my future daughter I'll try to do it. But learn that if I get that like before you come into the world. So anyway, midpoint. I would have my friends, cornrow, find one of them, Celia or Deidre. I would hit you guys up and ask you to do some braids, and I would then slide and use the hook. At the time was a big. Oh yeah, here's one of the photos pulling up. I had my two different ones, like,
This
and I
one
always
and this
like
one?
the like thick wavy pattern because I want it to be as big as possible. If I'm gonna have the hair, I want it thick hair. So I was very into that. Right now, we're showing an image of me. I had blonde at the tips because I have always been interested in blonde. I always like, I think that that went well with my skin tone, like,
Mhm.
versus like, I didn't do like the red when it came to like, especially if I was going to do natural hair colors. I always did like a blonde. The tip. I think this was my 21st birthday. And then the other photo, I had more of a reddish color, and I tried that out. It was like almost
This
like
one?
brownish. It's like a 30, like a B30, like a
Okay.
Coca-Cola red, not necessarily
Okay.
like orangey red, but more of like the yeah, I think that's what it was. It was a 30. So anyway, I remember like having, because I never did jet black. I always
Okay.
did
Yeah.
like one that was a little bit, had more of a color in it, only because it seemed like it stuck out. But yeah, I did crochet braids for a number of years because it was easy. Braid it down. Again, do the cornrows, and I could have these in for months at a time. And crochet braids, I feel like the longer you have it, the more natural it looked, especially
Mhm.
if you got hair like this that's like a waviness, the more and I would wash it. Had a
Yeah.
technique for
Okay.
washing it to make it so that it looked more and more natural, so with time. So
Mhm.
anyway, that's
Those are
that.
great. I watched them too. We talked about that in my Braids Care episode, the first one.
Yeah.
So I think that's also something that you were creating too, because you could try different styles
Hmm.
once
And
you with the
express
different
myself.
hair. Yes.
To finish answering your question about the journey to getting the actual like sister locks, and
Hmm.
when I first learned about sister locks, I learned about them for the first time. I remember in high school, it was my senior year. I saw this young girl. I was like, oh man, like her hair, like I've never seen locks that small and that neat. And I was like, oh, I really, really want to like get something like that. But at the time, it was still definitely something that was moving, I would say, west to the east. I would say, like, the founder or the person who patented this technology, she's in California. But I remember seeing this person when I was in high school, and I was like, oh man, immediately, hair envy, it's locks. But it's not necessarily the way in which I've traditionally seen locks. So that's the first time I saw it. And then after I got married in 2020, in 2021, like I had wanted to lock my hair before I got married, as in for my wedding, but I wasn't able to do that because of the pandemic. But
Right.
after that, in 2021, in April, I found a loctician. I lived in the Central Valley of California at that time. It's almost like I went to California to get my sister locks, but like I went and I was able to find a consultant that was local to the area, and I reached out to her, and we had a session where essentially she showed me. I told her that I have a lot of hair, but I don't want there to be like, there's different varies of density. Like you can get micro
Mhm.
sister locks, which if I got micro sister locks, I might have been dealing with closer to like 1,000+ locks. And I was not trying to the pain, like the amount of
Okay.
time, limiting. I wanted sister locks, but I wanted to also think about the amount of time and pain that I have to deal with. So I was like, all right,
You mean to put them in or to
yeah, to
maintain
put them
them?
in, but also maintenance, because when you get
Okay.
sister locks, it's still it's a locking method from the root. So you're gonna have to have the parting in the process of separating and making sure you have like a grid. I think I gave you an
Okay.
image of that. Like
Yes.
when
Let's
you
pull that up.
first get your sister locks install the first day, it's all about making sure that you have a very clean, defined grid. So we spent a lot of time on making sure I had that set up. And that was a really big part of the conversation for my initial consultation. I knew that I wanted to try out locks. I mean, I think I'm going to have them past the 5 years. I'll be 5 years in April of 2026. So that would be my 5 year mark. But I definitely wanted a season where I tried out sister locks. I think for me, hair is just like a part of like self expression, self acceptance, self
Mhm.
understanding, especially in this time where I don't have to budget time for my hair. I didn't say this at all yet, but like hair takes time. Oh yeah, this is a photo of the grid and the time and having the little tiny, tiny locks that were put in
Yeah.
all over my head. Something that was interesting about the lock journey also is that like I feel like the size that you see in this picture, they look smaller than what's currently on my head, at least how I look at it. And so like, as your hair grows, more hair is coming in. I felt like I had some healing that happened in the middle of my head. Because I
Mm.
remember when I first got the install, I did have some hair loss in the middle. And like that has been fixed. I don't have that issue as much anymore. But that is where, like, it's funny. That's like where one of my thickest locks are, because it came in later and how it was like put together. But yeah, the sister lock journey is one that is also unique with understanding your texture. Again, I think it revisits that, because you might look online and you'll see someone's locks and you're like, oh, it's because they have sister locks, so then my hair will fall that way, or my hair will look that way. But no, your locks are still like any other season of hair straightening and stuff like that. It's still unique to your experience. So that's just something I wanted to know.
That's important to, I mean, you can see here in this picture. So basically your head's divided into grids and there's sections, maybe like 8 or sections with, and they've tied the locks into Bantu knots. So you really can see your scalp here.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of locks. And that's because you have high density hair, meaning in an inch of your scalp, you have a lot of hair follicles coming through. And someone who has less density, they would not have as many hair follicles coming through. So we would see more scalp than what you would see, or maybe they would decide to do a different kind of grid. But
well, yeah, that's something unique to like sister locks too, is that there's different like I would say stitch patterns. That's the best way for me to compare it to. So depending on your texture, they might do a different type of pattern for that, and that's a part of that technology. Would you mind showing the other picture where they actually like took my hair out of the Bantu knots, where you can see like how the tips of my hair look at that time? I feel like it looks softer, but you can see all the lines, the perfectly straight lines, and the size of the locks. Again, if you look at my locks and you're watching this video, I feel like I have like a medium sized sister lock situation. But when I got my sister locks put in, they looked really tiny. They were very little. I remember like when I pulled them out, I think I still have one that kind of resembles the thinness, but like with time, they've gotten thicker. And the more I have it, the more that they mature, that happens. I know another reason why that can be is that as soon as that period when my sister lock consultant told me I didn't have to band and braid. And if you don't know what band and braiding is that when you first get your sister locks in, you have to, before you wash them, to make sure they don't slip, you have to braid them. And they typically recommend that you band them at the end so that you can allow them to drop. So that's why like people like who have sister locks, especially in the early stage, it looks a certain way because the discipline of banding and braid is a part of the process. As soon as they told me my locks had matured to the point, I was like, great, guess what I'm not doing? Banding and braiding. But I do know that if I maybe started doing that again, my locks could stretch out some, because what happens is your hair can bunch up. So as a side note, I'm aware of that for those who might be like, but if you band and braid, it does help with elongating the locks themselves to make sure that there's less air space in between the locks. So.
Okay. Well, yes, because here in this picture, your locks are very small. I would say like, you know those little hollow coffee stirrers?
Yeah.
Or like a cocktail straw.
Yeah.
Like not the one you stir, you don't sip.
Yeah.
And then today yours are, what would you compare it to in terms of
I feel like
diameter?
A pen.
Like a pen.
Like a pen, because like I have one right here maybe.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. Or maybe the inner part of some pens. Like this is another one, for example. Like you have like,
Yes, like the inside with the ink of the ballpoint pen.
Yeah, the ballpoint pen. Like
I love that we're giving. Look at this engineer.
little prop
science part
going on. But it's been a good journey. For me, I have like. I did have that time period when I first got my locks that I felt like I was like, oh my gosh, this does not look anything like what I wanted it to look like. So I would say, I don't know if they call it lock regret, but like you have the stage where you're like, oh my gosh, why did I do this to my hair? Especially because before my locks dropped, there was a period where it was like just like out. And like they just like were just out. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need them to lay down, because the whole point of me getting sister locks was because I wanted it to look neat and laid down, because I wanted to just appear that way. And I was struggling a bit, but we've come over that hump. I'm okay with it now. I would say, if I had a qualm, maybe it's that like not all my locks are the same, or something that I also wanted to share on the locks, like about locks in general. Wrap your hair every night, because lint is a part of the experience with locks sometimes. And like the more lint you have in a lock, the weaker the lock gets because it is not your hair. It's not locked into it.
Mm-hmm.
So then I've had it where I've had locks break off. Like I think, so
Mm-hmm.
I've had three, two in the back. Like they're actually been mostly in the back and they're much shorter. I'm showing at
Okay.
the nape of my, like they're much shorter than the rest of my locks. And that's because they broke off where lint had built
Oh,
up.
interesting.
And so,
Okay.
like, if you are like me, you don't want to pull on your smallest locks too. Because, like, I remember I pulled my hair up and I was like, oh, I broke off a lock in the middle.
Oh,
And then I noticed that in that space, there was a good amount of lint built up. And it's normally
okay.
where I'm not the best at the nape of the neck. There has
Mm-hmm.
been built up of lint. So that's just something I wanted to share. Be mindful about reducing the lint and, you know, if you can come out with a technology on how to get lint out of locks for
Mm.
specifically sister locks, I'm just letting you know, like we
Okay.
really need that solution because it's like very difficult and the sooner you get that out, the better.
Okay. Because you're wearing stuff, it gets caught on your clothes,
Yeah, your shirt. You see
you
how
know,
like
your
it's on my
shirt.
shirt right
Yeah.
now. I have to be mindful. I think I can't think of what creator, but someone put out content about like what shirts not to wear essentially when you have locks, especially in the early stage, because it will get in your hair. Like especially, we wear scarves during the winter
Yeah.
time and the material that's there like will
Mm-hmm.
get into your hair and you don't want that.
And I think if you're wearing your hair loose, that's something to watch out for because since
Yeah.
your ends, when you're thinking
Hmm.
about length retention, it's just, rubbing against your shirt. And I don't do much about that, but I know it's a thing.
Is it look, I would say like it's a thing even with locks, something to be mindful of.
It's something to be mindful of. That's so if someone were considering getting locks or they ask you about it, what
Mhm.
things do you think they should consider as they evaluate whether this work would work for them?
You know, getting if you plan to eventually do your locks yourself, that should be a part of your thought process, like cuz that takes time. So like for those who are considering getting locks, I think it's really critical to consider that because, it's much different when you have maybe 100 locks to lock versus 300 or 400 or 600. Some people have like like 1,000. Like you get to the point
Mm,
where the amount of locks you have could also impact your choice. Also, take your time when selecting the loctician that does your locks because quality matters. And I'm not saying that if you get what in I guess the sister lock community is someone who's still training to do your locks, that's actually an opportunity to get your locks done for a more affordable price. And oftentimes they still know what they need to do your locks. But like if you're someone who knows that you want your locks to be perfectly the same size everywhere, you might need to talk to multiple locticians about like their technique and style and how long they've been doing it and do they have a formula for getting it done. Because I know even with the person that does my current reties, she's not the person that did my original install. She's been doing my
yes.
lock for the past 3 years. I can tell from when she first started doing my reties to now, she has a system. Like my lock experience
Okay.
has gone way faster from when
Oh,
she had learned how to, and she was already been doing locks or sister locks for a number of years then. But I think like you're building a long term relationship. The person actually gets to understand your hair, your texture, like
mhm.
something that I make sure happens that not everyone does before they get their retie done is that I make sure she reties my hair wet. Why? Because we're going back to
Okay.
me in pain, and it reduces the pain of my hair when my hair is done when it's wet. And it also is helpful for just like how my hair is. I know that having that moisture, that being the time that we do
Mm.
it, it's really helpful.
That's excellent. Thank you for sharing that because I know people are curious. I learned a lot. I didn't know anything about the dropping or yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's shift and talk a little bit about your hairstyle and how that's come to play with your work and your career and what you're building. And I think there's some intention there that you put behind. I think you kind of alluded to it before in terms of your time and the season of life. Can you share with us a little bit about what you do today and how that your hair has been part of your experience?
Yeah, I think this is an excellent question because I think about like when my mom, when I first decided to get my look, she had said something to me about like, oh, now you have like a signature look, right? Because as someone who
Mm,
changed her hair a lot, I like never really had like one thing you would think about when you thought about Tiana, right? But now a lot of people, when they think about me, they're like, oh, Tiana, she has Sisterlocks. I was doing a Google search of myself last night, actually, typed my name into Google. And I was trying to see like what was coming up because I always like to check out my SEO. But anyway, what came
As
up
one does.
with Google Image now, they have this way that they're looking at you, and locks is now associated with me. Like literally, like if you Google
Oh.
and like if you look at the image, it came up. Now they call dreadlocks, which I'm not someone who necessarily connects with that terminology for my hair as much, but that is what some people refer to, like what I have in my head. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily align or identify with that, but it was cool that locks are now a part of like something that comes up when you Google my name. Google was able to see like that's what's going on with her hair, and it's like a part of my signature look. So, as far as work in general with my hair journey, it has always been a very interesting thing because depending on where I was working, people have their comments. People have their comments about
Mm.
hair because they think that that's something that they can comment on. I don't necessarily think you should comment on any part of anyone's physical opinion. Like your opinion doesn't need to be
Mhm.
shared unless it's positive, and the goal is always to be positive because that's what people need. They don't need
Yes.
anything else. Like, we,
Agreed.
like we can do the negative talk if we need to, and we don't. But in our head, we have plenty of that. I'm sure because everyone is aware that people are looking at them. But main point,
Mhm.
with my hair, I have had various comments at work. I remember like comments when like I used to get braids and maybe take them out. They're like, "Oh, your hair changed overnight." Like, like those little like comments of like, "Wow, how'd you do that?" Or like, "Is that your hair?" question. And I had that. I've had those. Since I've gotten locks, I would say that those comments are less, like as in like
Mm.
it's kind of like, oh, this is the standard look. Her hair doesn't change because her hair doesn't change. I do get comments from people who look like me, actually those that are a
Mm.
little bit older, that they assumed my hair was braids and not my actual hair. So having to communicate
Oh,
to them that this is my real hair and it's not extensions, and explaining that has been also like something that was unique and interesting, which it
that
came more
is.
like as a genuine question and not in the form of like criticism, just more so trying to understand, because when they were coming up they probably did not see this type of lock or this
No.
type of, because like if you don't know much about African American hair and black hair, you may not understand what is happening with my hair. You might assume, oh, she has braids. like,
What is happening?
like,
It's so true though. Like
like,
people don't
like
understand.
trust me. So like I've had more of like curiosity as a part of it. I know,
Mhm.
and I think for me, like sister locks or this style of hair has allowed me to have something that's signature to me and is growing with me. I look back at some photos of me from like 3 years ago, like how different I look. Although it's the same person, it's just more so it's like a way to almost document my growth as an individual too.
Mm.
So that's what I really like about my lock journey. It's something that has allowed me to do it in workspaces. My sister locks, are professional because they're a part of me. I'm a professional. It's me. It comes with
Yes.
me, and so therefore it's professional. No one can question that, and I don't take those types of questions. So there's that.
There's that.
There's that. Like, and just having ownership over what it is. The time dynamic. I don't spend time on my hair like I used to.
Mhm.
I can style it, which I was thinking about doing that for the episode. I will curl my locks. I normally, especially around the holiday, it's a nice like look to have like a curled lock situation. It's fun. You can do that. I was exploring maybe doing like they do like the braids and then like a little knot at the end. I haven't done that yet, but those are something that my friend Whitney was helping me with, like thinking through that. So like just enjoying it and having it has been fine for my professional journey. I think it actually freed up maybe even brain space around like the
Mm.
stress that used to come with like, oh, what am I going to do with my hair? I already
Yeah.
know what I can do with my hair, and I have more of the option of like, this is what I can do or I don't, right? Like,
Yeah.
so I can just wake
Yes.
up and it's already a look, but I
It's already
can
done. Mhm.
invest some time if I want to add curls to it, or if I want to pin it up, I can pin it up. So
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for sharing this about your locks. I'm sure there's some people, I know a lot of people who are currently considering
mhm.
getting sister locks. So this is really helpful and just understanding Maybe for some people who didn't understand what's going on and maybe cut their braids, this is
they can come
useful.
and be like, oh, finally, I can know what's going on with Tiana's
Finally.
hair, and I don't have to ask her directly.
I don't have to ask her, what is going on? How do you do this?
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing what our textured hair can do. It really is. And the beauty of that and the different styles and how even just seeing how it comes about is amazing.
Yeah.
And your hair is beautiful. So thank you for
So
sharing
is
that with
yours.
us. Thank you. Well, now I just want to talk a little bit about you and how people can connect with you. Do you want to share a little bit about what you're doing, as you also have a podcast?
So yeah, Tiana Elame, you can find me. My preferred way of finding me is just Google me, my first name and my last name. You'll be able to find either my hat of being a lecturer at NC State, or you'll be able to find my Instagram. It's a platform where I'm just trying to get out content around me and mom and different things that I'm working on. And then you can always connect with me through LinkedIn. So if you are interested in environmental work and want to talk about it, that's cool. Shadia graciously mentioned that I have a podcast called Advance. Environmental Answers is the long form of that. And the goal is to uplift the work that environmental leaders are doing, being able to share with them a space for them to uplift their work and look at environmental innovation. My three main projects that I'm working on. First, I'm working on curriculum development, specifically aligning the curriculum to environmental industry partners, making a stronger pathway for work. I'm also working on a community-based project, which is called Tots That Tech. It's supposed to help families understand the tech behind the tech, but also using our environment as a tool for that. So the first thing we're looking at is maps, making sure those 0 to 5 understand how a map works, understanding Google, but also helping their parents have the opportunity to ask questions about that. And last but not least is the podcast. So the Environmental Answers podcast, and looking for people who are interested in just talking about their work. A lot of work that comes with the environmental industry that people don't think about looks like aging in place is one of the episodes I'm looking forward to, because that's a form of sustainability. So thanks for that. And I really enjoyed being able to talk to you about something that I don't get to talk about, but something that's really core to my identity, which is my hair. So thanks.
It's been wonderful having you. And I just love just the attitude that you've had. You can see it just throughout, of just celebrating and appreciating and taking agency and control over what you have. So, which is your hair, and I know that goes through a lot of aspects of your life as well, because you're really doing amazing things with Environmental Answers and all that you're working on. So we're so excited to have you. It's been a great conversation. I can't wait till people get to see this. So thank you again for coming, Tiana.
Shadia, yeah, thanks so much for having me on the Tight Curls project. This is really nice. I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Awesome. We're so glad to have you. I'm so glad to have you, Tiana. And for everybody who's listening, please subscribe where you're watching or listening so you can find us next time. You can send any questions or comments. The links are below. I'm on Substack, social media, and the Tight Curls project is everywhere you're probably looking. So we hope to connect with you soon. And thanks again.